All right, the next question is, the image of this area is often associated with crime. Many policies seem to be band-aid solutions instead of solving root problems. What do you feel are the root causes of crime, and how can you affect real change?
Again, education. Education. Crime comes from people not having things to do. They don't have an alternative. So 67%, I would say that 67% is distorted, the dropout rate, because you have some that move away. So let's bring it down to 50%. But still you have those 50% that are dropped out. They're not doing anything. They can't read, write according to the MEP scores. So they go to drugs. Drugs in turn is violence. So with drugs and violence, so once we start to educate them, bring them alternative curriculums for them to stay in school, then we can find a decrease in the drugs and violence. I'm not saying it's going to completely go away, because it's not going to happen, but then you will find a significant decrease in the crime and violence. But then you have to build up the communities. You have to get the communities working with each other. Then you do that, then we can see crime and violence start to decrease. But we have to give alternatives for these kids and these people that's out here doing these violence. We're steadily taking things away from them and not putting anything back. So we have to start putting things back for these things to start decreasing.
One of the things that I can point to is that we have what we call a prison industrial complex that's operating on Wall Street. It's investors that pay to build prisons. And they're building prisons for who? So the question is, how can we change the image, reduce crime in Flint? Well, one of the areas that I'm familiar with as a retired police officer, as a former Department of Corrections manager, I can tell you that we need to reform the courts. We certainly need to reform the prisons because we're seeing a number of individuals being locked up for offenses that may involve drugs, but they're drug users / dealers.
15 seconds.
And if we just focus on these areas, we can begin to educate, inform, and train individuals for the next Michigan. We can't incarcerate our problem. We can't incarcerate ourselves out of this issue.
Well, I believe one of the root causes for crime is that our community has let our children down. Our streets have become their playground. We have buses that take single parents to Auburn Hills to work while the children are at home alone. Something is wrong with that picture. We are expanding the infrastructure outside of our cities in the state of Michigan. We need to invest in our cities. Our churches, our families, and our schools need to be more involved with our children. They talk about the 9th grade dropout rate. Children don't drop out in the 9th grade because of something going on in the 9th grade. It's what's been going on earlier.
15 seconds.
In K through 8 and before that. So the community needs to work closer with our churches, our families, and schools to help our children.
Again, I'm not going to differ with the comments that have been made by the others seated here. I think they're all excellent. But I don't hold myself out as an expert on criminal behavior, but let me just share one thought. I think a part of what we have in relationship to crime is a function of a depressed economy. So you have a certain number of folks out there committing crimes because they don't have any other way of making a living. And then you have others who are just criminals, you know, and you have to have a response to both. You have to have, if we produce jobs, I think that we will see crime reduced in this community. And then you deal with the career criminal. You deal with the people who are just committed to a life of crime. But you also invest on the front end. I just believe that it is far more advantageous to us to invest in our education system, in our healthcare system on the front end, as opposed to trying to warehouse countless young people in the correction system. By the way, the correction system is the fastest growing budget in state government.
He borrowed 10 seconds of mine. And no matter where you are, whether you're in Goodrich, like where I'm from right now, or in Flint, or in Grand Blanc or Saginaw, the single most important person in a kid's life is their parent. And if mom or dad aren't there, then the kids have got a problem. And we have to deal with that. Now, when I was a kid growing up in Flint, we had all kinds of, this is the birthplace of community education. We had something to do all the time at schools. And years ago, they stopped doing those extra kind of things. Remember all the hassles about midnight basketball? This is maybe 10 years ago. And Republicans started screaming, we're wasting money. Why are we spending our tax dollars making, having places for kids to go at midnight? My answer was so that they won't be in your garage, for crying out loud. Let's give them something to do. And that is what we have to do. Give our kids something to do. Give parents some help when they have to go off to work down wherever they have to go. We have to do those two little things. It may cost a little money, but it will save us in the future.
Yeah, I agree that we can't incarcerate our way out of the problem. Everybody knows if you let something go wrong, and you let it go wrong, try and fix it on the back end, always costs you a lot more than what it would have cost you to just fix it up front. So we can start to fix it up front by doing the things we've been talking about all night. Jobs, pre-kindergarten education for all kids, making sure that no kids go to bed hungry, taking away the social, or providing the social programs to support parents and help them through the kinds of things that perhaps cause broken families. We can do those kinds of things if we decide that we want to make people a priority and not make corporate American and what's good for business a
15
priority.
seconds.